Hi, Yamiche. I'm Kennedy Huff, and I'm from Dallas, Texas. I started off with PBS NewsHour Student Reporting Labs in high school, and I came back in 2018 as a Gwen Ifill Fellow. I've been watching your reporting these past couple of years, and you've been doing an amazing job. So it's nice to virtually meet you.
It is great to virtually meet you. Congratulations on all the things you've accomplished. It's awesome that you got your start in high school, which is where I got my start. So I'm really excited to talk to you.
Over the past couple of years, we've seen, whether it's from politicians or everyday people, attacking the media and kind of promoting this rhetoric that the media should not be trusted. What can you say to a budding journalist who may be taking all of that information in and maybe unsure that this is the right career for them?
I would say stay the course. If you love journalism, there's nothing better in the world than being able to do that journalism, being able to tell the stories of people who need their stories told. It's tough. It's hard. I have moved like 6 or 7 times. I moved to cities I didn't want to be in. I had to make new friends. I was cold. I was lonely. I had to call my girls on group chat to like make it through when I didn't have anyone in the cities that I was living in. But to me, it was worth the journey. It was worth being able to tell those stories. So to me, it's really just stay the course. And in terms of trusting, I say you should always assume that people don't owe you their trust or their respect. You should be trying to every single day earning people's respect, earning people's trust. That's what I think about. I've never walked into someone's house thinking that this person owes me their story. I have been a cops reporter on the street. I've been an education reporter. I've been a local political reporter. So to me, every single time that I've had to talk to someone, I've talked to a lot of mothers who have lost their children to violence. And every single time I go in that space, I always think like this person shouldn't have to trust me. I should have to prove that I'm trustworthy. And you do that not by convincing the person or debating people on Twitter. You do that by doing the work, by being accurate, by admitting when you make a mistake, by having a correction that you understand is a way to grow. So to me, it's all about just being transparent with people and telling people like my intentions are good. So to me, it's like, I think about like my job's in the Constitution. I'm a civil rights reporter. I'm here to tell the truth. And I hope that people respect and trust that and understand that if I make a mistake, that I will own up to it. And that's the only way that I think that can really move you through this journey. And I think the other thing is it's so important to have mentors and to surround yourself with people who understand what you're going through and to be vulnerable with people. Like it's hard. Being a journalist is hard. You have your highs and you have your lows. You made the front page. Oh, by the way, I got a correction. Like you phrase a question the wrong way and you think you messed up an interview because you forgot to ask this question. It's like we've all been there. We've all done that. And for me, Gwen Ifill and her friend Athalia Knight and my friend Darren Simon and all these other people were there for me throughout my entire career to just talk to me when I made a mistake and when I had a high. That to me, it's critical to also just surround yourself with people who understand your goals and are ready to cheer for you, no matter what you're going through.
You've been doing a great job with your White House coverage these past couple of years for the NewsHour, more specifically during this uncertain time of COVID-19. And I've noticed, along with a bunch of other people, that oftentimes when you're asking the president or the Trump administration tough questions, there's often heated exchanges, and he even at times can personally attack you.
You've said repeatedly that you think that some of the equipment that governors are requesting, they don't actually need. And the officials that worked in that office said that the White House lost valuable time because that office wasn't disbanded. What do you make of that?
Well, I just think it's a nasty question.
How do you manage to stay calm during those times?
I stay calm during those times by really focusing on the fact that I came to the White House to do a job, which is to hold leaders accountable and to ask the questions that need to be asked. And to also be, in my mind, a civil rights journalist. That's what I've been. That's why I became a journalist, because of the civil rights movement and the death of Emmett Till, this 14-year-old boy who was murdered. And was the catalyst for the civil rights movement. And that is always really at the core of what I do, the idea that there are vulnerable populations and people all over the country that will never get to see the White House. And they deserve someone asking questions about the things that they care about and that are affecting their lives. So in my mind, whenever he's lashing out or whenever people are doing other things, to me, my sole focus, and I feel it really from the depths of my soul focus is doing the work of the people, doing the work of the American people, and trying to be a representative of a media that's holding people accountable.
Well, I really have to commend you for not only standing up for the voiceless, but asking those tough questions despite the personal attacks. And as I've never been in a White House press briefing, but I can tell from TV that there's no guarantee that somebody's going to get their question answered. And so, how do you make sure that you are asking the right questions, especially during this pandemic when information is changing so rapidly?
I do that by preparing and being very, very conscious about what I'm writing down and what is going on in the world, so that I have this list of questions that is really up to date and that has context, so that if I'm going to be asking the president a question and he's already spoken about that topic, I try to have his quote as part of the materials that I have in front of me. So if he says, well, I didn't say that, I can say, well, on March 6th, actually, you said this. So I think a lot of it is being prepared. And then a lot of it is what journalism is, which is listening very deeply and following up on people. So if the president starts his press conference by talking about the health disparities and death rates among African Americans, and it shows that in places like Chicago, where Black people make up only 30% of the population or 29% of the population, there's 70% of the deaths, that I can quickly pivot. So it's a combination of being prepared, but also really listening to people and being ready to follow up, which is, I think, what I learned from my mentors and from Gwen Ifill and from other people. You go into an interview wanting to talk about one thing, and sometimes people have a completely different thing that they want to talk about, and you should also be ready to hear what that person has to say.
During these briefings, you're amongst a bunch of different journalists from different types of media, whether that's national media, global media. How do you make sure that your questions stand out?
I really just try to ask the questions that I think are the best questions for that day. So I can't say that I'm super concerned about standing out, because when I go in the briefing room, it's not about like, oh, am I going to get the best question today? Or are people going to say like, yeah, she's really, really smart? I don't think that's what journalism is. I don't think that's what journalism should be. And I think that for me, journalism has never been like, I want to be famous. There are so many other ways in this world to be famous and to be known, that like being a journalist, especially in an industry that I started off making very little money. I could have been a Wall Street banker. There are all these other things that you could do to be famous and make money, that journalism just can't be about being famous and being the best person with the question. So a lot of times I'm also following up on my colleagues' questions, and they're following up on my questions. So it's also recognizing like, hey, that person just asked a really good question. I didn't really hear a good answer. Can we go back over that subject? So to me, it's not only just that I don't want to ask the best questions, it's that I want to make sure I'm giving credit to where I get my ideas from. Because sometimes I say, well, ABC had a really great question today and you didn't answer it. Can you please answer it?
So recently, the White House released a new set of rules regarding media entering press briefings and testing for the virus. This is one way that your job has been impacted. What other ways has your job as a reporter been impacted by COVID-19?
So the White House Correspondents Association, along with the White House, came up with rules to really try to make sure that we're staying safe as we cover the president in these briefings. So I'm fully supportive of the new rules. This is not something that like the White House dictated to us. It was something that we really came in conjunction with and really thought together about. And it's something that I'm very conscious of adhering to those rules, because I want everyone to stay safe. And when you can stay home, of course, you should be staying home. So one of the things that I've been doing is really thinking through how to be safe in these times. I'm leaving my house probably every 3 days because I'm going to the White House, I'm going to briefings, but I try to really wear a mask and wear gloves and wipe stuff down. So when I go into the briefing room, I probably spend about 5 minutes wiping down my chair, wiping down other people's chair, asking people if they need some more hand sanitizer, to remind everyone that we should all be like cleaning and sanitizing these spaces that we're using. And the other thing has been that, like, frankly, I've had to buy some furniture. Like, I'm a millennial. At the end of the day, I'm not someone who had a really nice plant or a really nice bookshelf. Like, I wasn't someone who like I'm very much still starting out in my career in my mind. So for me, it was about like, oh, wait, now I have to have a home studio. And, you know, that's a privilege to be able to have a home studio. It's a privilege to be able to have a space in your home that you can then open up to the world and do hits from. So I had to make sure that me and my husband were talking about things and building this home studio to like, just like be able to present the news from this corner. So I don't take it for granted that I was able to kind of do the things that I needed to do in order to still be able to bring people the news from my home right now.
Well, thanks so much, Yamiche, for taking the time to talk with me. I know that you have such a busy day and it's been a busy, couple of months for you. So continue doing an amazing job keeping up with the coverage of COVID-19.
Thanks so much.